Oh, Terry, we're going live right now. You can tell me after that. Welcome back to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, being joined by my lovely co-host, Barbara Slane, and we are back with the Hydrogen Man. Terry, we're going live right now. You can tell me after that. Welcome back to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, being joined by my lovely co-host, Barbara Slane. We are back with the Hydrogen. Sorry for that. Anyway, we're back here with the Hydrogen Man, going deeper into the intricacies of hydrogen water. Barbara, did you want to do like a disclaimer? Is anything the Hydrogen Man says, Greg, is for you to decide if it's right for yourself. Don't take any claims there as medical proof or something absolute. This is all Greg's personal opinion, maybe other people. But Barbara, what did you want to say about Greg?
I think that Greg is authentic. He's dedicated to the truth, which I like. Could you close the door? Dedicated to the truth. That Greg has done research, and his biggest research project was himself. Greg was not well at all. And he, without any attachment to any specific device, found the purest one, the most effective one that works, and that's the one he talks about. I'm really happy to be in his company because I feel the truth is being spoken, and I know that this water helps. My question I started out with, because as I delve deeper into this subject, is, of course, I'm asking people, and you ask a lot of people, and you get a lot of feedback. And so my question is there any possibility that the hydrogen molecule can interact in even one person with certain foods or nutritionals and with nutraceuticals? Could it enhance it, or could it also kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Dilute it. So, Greg, if you could just answer if there's any ramifications to hydrogen water taken with anything else other than 3 hours away from food.
And the best way to take the hydrogen water, and we're talking about a particular type of hydrogen water, because as Greg has explained in the past, there's many types of machines that do hydrogen water. So is that it? Can you cover some of that in one kind of sweep?
Yeah, well, of course. Let me just, well, before I always begin, I always like to say, look, I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm not making any medical claims. And I'm not even making any claims for or against any product or products. So with that being said, I'm not giving you guys any medical advice. So please consult your doctors, right? And with that being said, I'll go ahead and answer your question. So here's the thing. There are concerns, in my opinion, and there is actually some data to support this, by the way, but I'm going to actually give you some of the data because I think it's important, in my opinion, to always think for yourself. And you have to understand the way the human body works in order to understand not just hydrogen, but just understand health in general. And I think this is one of the biggest issues in the world because everybody seems to have a difference of opinion. And if you really understood how the human body worked, it wouldn't be that big of a question. So with that being said, let me answer your questions. There are concerns when you make hydrogen water incorrectly, in my opinion. So let me give you an example. You guys remember these like water ionizers and Kangen machines and all this type of stuff? Can you guys hear me, by the way?
We hear you, yes.
Yes, we do. They were the rage, and it came out after that alkaline water is actually not beneficial for your microbiome.
Right. So here's what actually really happened. I mean, straight from Japan, they were way ahead of us. I mean, we are so far behind. I mean, I've been talking about hydrogen forever, and it's become the biggest craze, and I've been talking about it for almost a decade. So I mean, this is how far behind America is on this whole subject. The reason the Kangen machines appeared, I'm going to say, again, for legal purposes, appeared to have certain benefits is, and everybody kept saying, oh, it's because of the alkalinity of the water. It really wasn't the alkalinity of the water. Think about this for a second. If you really wanted to make alkaline water, you could literally take tap water and put baking soda in it. That's it. It would be so alkaline and you could try to do all sorts of crazy stuff with it. It's not going to bring the benefits, in my opinion, again, that you would see in regards to a lot of different medical issues. Because can you imagine if it was that easy? You just put some baking soda in water and drink it, and that's voila, it's going to solve all sorts of different crazy issues. That's not really what happened. And by the way, baking soda is not something that's like medically approved and they use it for all sorts of medical conditions the way that hydrogen is approved, for example, in Japan already and being used in multiple ways, right? So that's the first thing. Now, why did Kangen show these benefits? Because did they show these benefits? They actually did. They did show these benefits, but there's a huge asterisk next to this. So you have to finish watching what I'm about to say, because otherwise it won't make sense. Kangen machines, when they were making their water and showing certain benefits, were not for the long term. I have to emphasize this a lot. Long-term data versus short-term data is crucially important, because think about this. Think about fasting. If you fast for a short period of time, like 7 days or even 10 days, whatever, but then you want to go long-term, like 6 months, guys, you'll be almost dead in 6 months. You understand? So there's a short-term benefit for fasting. And look, fasting is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I think fasting is absolutely incredible. But when you go long-term, it can cause a lot of problems because your body begins to use up all its nutrients and it has a lot of negative aspects. The Kangen thing, they were making water alkaline through ionization. And by the way, that's another thing that's important to talk about, because alkalinity can happen in so many different ways. It can happen from minerals. You can do it through ionization. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do alkaline water, and not all ways are created equal. Okay. So with the whole Kangen thing, you'd see these short-term benefits, but in the long term, which only the Japanese really began to observe because they were really big on the Kangen at first. And the long term, here's where the problems begin. And anybody can Google this. Anybody can do their research. Remember, I've done all this research. This is why I've worked so hard at this to try to figure it all out. Your stomach acids, as you age, will get lower and lower and lower. You will produce less stomach acid as you age, okay? And stomach acids are crucial for your health. I don't know how many people understand the functions of acids in your stomach, but basically they help break down food so that you can get proper absorption of nutrients, and also to kill certain pathogens before they enter the whole GI system, okay? So what happens when you bring something in like Kangen water, for example? I'm not trying to like attack them or anything, because there's a lot of water ionizers that do this. So they do this, you're gonna disrupt the GI system, and that is what they observed in Japan. Long-term usage began to disrupt the GI. But hydrogen, ironically, is basically what they call pH neutral. So if it's pH neutral, why would it affect stomach acids? It's because the way that Kangen was making the hydrogen. I always try to emphasize how you make it is important. They're doing it the wrong way. The problem is that it's become such a huge moneymaker. Right? Everybody knows that money seems to cause a lot of problems. It became such a huge moneymaker. And also, remember, it's a multi-level marketing thing. It's a pyramid thing. So many people have built, and I get it, people spend so much effort and time to build this thing. The last thing they want to do is go and tell people this is not the right way to do it, But the way that I always did my thing is I was always looking for truth, no matter where the dollars went. You know what I mean? And that's something that kind of can disrupt things, which is probably one of the reasons I've been attacked so much, because people don't want to see their golden goose go away. You understand? You guys with me on this?
Yeah, we're
Anybody?
with you.
Yeah, totally. So yes.
So so when you make hydrogen properly, hydrogen done correctly is pH neutral. The whole reason that the Kangen company and many different water ionizer companies changed their tune and stopped talking about alkaline waters because they started saying, hey, we're hydrogen machines. They inadvertently made some hydrogen, which is why you saw the short-term benefits. But these short-term benefits can cause long-term ramifications that are not technically, maybe possibly very positive. You guys understand?
So getting back to this hydrogen machine, which is different than Kagan water, you said electrifies water. This doesn't. What is the machines that you recommend, which is the Holy Hydrogen, the Lord's Holy Hydrogen, what Greg has found to be the best on the market? This is not a commercial for them, it's just commercial for hydrogen. But what is the way you prefer hydrogen different than what Kagan was doing, which wasn't even hydrogen, I guess?
Well, for me, I was always looking for health. And I know, all these companies who go after me, they want me on their side. They want me to talk about their product and their product being amazing. The problem is that I go after the truth. Just like cars. We know that Toyotas are some of the best cars ever built, right? And it's because they went in for quality. They went in for the best, and eventually they built a brand. They built a name for themselves. It's the same thing for hydrogen. I just went for the best, guys. And the reason that this machine that I like ended up becoming the best in Japan, and even throughout the world, by the way, a lot of people don't know that this is like, everybody knows they're the best in Asia. America is a little slow to catch on. The machine that I like does not ionize the water that you're drinking. It makes pure hydrogen, so it's pH neutral. It's full saturation. It's lab tested and certified, which no company, by the way, there's not one other company in the world. Can you guys believe this? Not one in the world. That's wild to me. That will go as far as certifying and testing every single machine they make. Why? It's too expensive. And also the results would not be beneficial to these companies. And so this company does it mostly, from what I understand, because the guy who created this thing, do you guys know about the guy who created this device?
No, I don't.
Last show, but let's go into
No, that wasn't the guy who created it. Is there a spiritual aspect to the guy that created this, Greg? Sorry, Alan.
No, and this is great. I like when you guys are all involved. What I can tell you is the guy who created, or basically responsible for the creation of this thing, he did it because of his daughter. His daughter was sick. They told him that his daughter would be lucky to reach the age of 5 years old. She was born with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. So his daughter was extremely sick, and he knew about hydrogen, but there was no device that would make hydrogen to the purity, the way that it should be made, because everybody wants to do it on the cheap. Everybody wants to use parts from China, chemicals like lye. Everybody wants to use cheap metals like stainless steel. It's not the right way to do hydrogen. And this guy took it to a whole other level, by the way. And I know that there's probably not enough marketing for people to really find this out, but I found it through research, not through marketing. This was not about money. This guy wanted to do it right. And it's impressive because he wanted everything to be done in Japan. Every little thing about this machine is like a masterpiece. And he outdid himself, by the way, because there's certain aspects that I guess I'm not at liberty to say all, but trust me when I tell you, information's going to come in the future that's going to actually prove what I'm saying.
Now,
Let's put it that way.
I just want to say that some of the feedback I got, and I do want to go back to what I asked before, is that
Sure.
why it's so expensive? Because to a lot of people, 22, 24, whatever, is a lot of money.
Sure. I get it.
They can't afford it, and they feel almost kind of jaded that there isn't a better way to get the healing benefits that this machine offers. But it's like buying a car.
I can touch on that, Barbara. There's multiple different ways that we can look at it, but let me put it to you this way. Before this machine ever even existed, you couldn't get hydrogen of this purity. You would literally need hundreds of thousands of dollars. You would not even be able to get your hands on it. How many people can afford a $100,000 car? Not a lot of people.
So Greg,
how many people can afford? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
A total commercial for the machine. It's great. It's holy hydrogen. But what is this machine do? hydrogen parts per million. And back to Barbara's question, how should we take it? What's the best way? Empty stomach or with supplements and food? So, yeah.
Meaning, is there any contraindication at all for even one person to take it with nutraceuticals or food?
Okay, let me put it this way. The way that you should look at hydrogen water, in my opinion, is the way that you look at water in general. When you're eating a big meal, should you be drinking a ton of water?
No.
I mean, Barbara already gave us the right answer, because it will dilute our stomach acids. Okay. So when I created my protocol, and I went off of data, by the way, our GI system requires a large amount of water to function properly. It's the reason that when I created my protocol, that you drink it on an empty stomach in order to get proper hydration and be prepared to digest the meal. Hydrogen water functions a lot like normal water, unless you're making it incorrectly. At that point, you're going to cause problems, in my opinion. You do not want to be doing it wrong. Whether you're leaching metals, be cautious of leaching metals. Metal technology is so crucial. This is kind of funny. I'm not going to go into detail about what companies have contacted me, but I have had companies contact me because they want me on their side. And it's all, believe me, they only want me on their side because they're thinking dollar signs. They're not wanting me on their side for any other reason other than money. And, and I've turned down a lot of money. And some people say, dude, you're an idiot. You've turned down so much money. You're so stupid. Why would you do that? But I did. And I did that because I only show people what I myself use and what I have found to work. That is what I have done. I don't promote. Have you ever seen these influencers that have like 200 products? I mean, they have so many products. How many products do I really promote? I think it's like 3 or 4. I mean, there's like almost nothing, because it's clean water, it's clean hydrogen. I mean, what else is there? The nutrients, which comes from food. It's just food and some minerals. I mean, that's about all I do, because that's all you need, in my opinion, of course. There's too much. Look, what I discovered through really deep dive and research about supplements. Have you guys ever opened up maybe your own cupboard or other people's cupboards? You open them up and it's just full of supplements.
I'm guilty.
That's to Barbara's house.
I don't take them. I try them, or I'm like a chemist.
They've made, God, dare I say this, and I'm so sorry to say this, but they've made a mockery of health, because what they do, and I'm revealing all the secrets here and everybody's going to hate me for this. All you do is pick out the next supplement. For example, I'll give you an example, like copper. Copper became this huge thing. Everybody's like, oh, take this copper supplement. Okay. You can get copper from food. I have so many foods in my home. If I showed you the label and what's in the food, I'll say copper, right? And by the way, the data shows that it's best to get these things from food. And when I say food, I'm talking about minerals and nutrients, your vitamins, your amino acids, these type of things. The best place, the number one place, according to data, and I believe that this data, because it says that the best place to get it is from your food. Why? Because the body has been eating food for thousands of years. It's so used to it. It's within our genetics. This is what we were designed to get, was get these things from our food. Now, what's the problem? Our food is deficient. It's deficient in minerals. It's deficient in nutrients. So when I try to supplement, it's not a pill. All the supplements I use, if I were to show them to you, have you guys seen I can show them to you while we talk, but the point is, I try to use food as much as possible for my nutrition, but that's nutrition. Remember, your body has the master solvent. I'm sure you guys already know, because you guys are so bright in this. The master solvent is water. Okay. Now look at this product right here. This is a product that I use every single day if anybody was to watch my YouTube channel. Have you guys heard of Purium?
Oh, you talked about it. That's Purium, and is it a plant-based shake or?
Everything in this thing is basically food. That's all it is. There's nothing particularly amazing. And I used to use a different product, but I saw the lab tests. The reason that I'm so interested in this product and why I use it, and I've been using it for quite a while, and I did blood work to prove that it made a difference. And oh boy, did it make a difference. I was kind of shocked, actually. That's why I use it on the regular. This stuff is just food, okay? Just food, nothing magical, but it's condensed nutrients. Now, if you open this thing and you begin to look at the nutrients, I mean, you guys can't see it from there, but if I were to read some stuff to you, for example, like everybody's so big on magnesium. This thing has, and literally in just, I don't know, a few tablespoons or something, it's got a ton of magnesium. Everybody's big on the magnesium. You want to get your magnesium from your food, or, by the way, this is another product I use. I put minerals, and this is just minerals.
Company, is that biotics?
It's concentrates.
Concentrates, yeah.
And I like concentrates. I've spoken to the doctor who works with them. They've definitely done their homework. What I'm trying to tell you is that these basically come from the ocean. They remove the salt, and so I have all these pure minerals from nature and food. I mean, I'm not doing anything weird. This is not a pill. And by the way, pills I'm usually not very fond of, because the other ingredients that they put in pills are things that I've seen in lab tests. And I know that it's difficult for people to navigate. It was difficult for me to navigate when I was sick. And all I did was figure out my own protocol. For me, I didn't even do this for anybody else. I was doing it for me to get better. But what I discovered was, oh my gosh, this whole health industry is out of control. Because all anybody wants to do is take a product like this. Again, we go back to this and we look here real quick. Let me just look for like copper. Okay, copper here. You get 40% of your daily value in, I don't know, a few tablespoons or something, okay? But they try to sell you these supplements saying, oh, copper's so amazing for this, and this. Think about it for 1 second. You could do that with any nutrient. You could take vitamin B6.
Copper is, too much copper is been shown in data to be responsible for certain cancers. So yes, you're playing with fire.
Yes, and here's the problem. When you say just the word copper, it's too vague. Because what if I get a copper piece of metal and I just start sucking on it? Do you think that's going to be good for me? Of course not. Nature has a way of using a plant that pulls the minerals and combines them in fruits, for example, in vegetables, to combine them with certain phytonutrients, with certain fibers, with certain enzymes. Nature's amazing, guys.
Synergistically, but Greg, what I want to do is,
and hydrogen's a part of it, but we'll get to it. Go ahead.
I know. So because you're such a wealth of information, I'm going to go back to the hydrogen and that everything. Okay, now it's in the zeitgeist. Everyone is saying the best antioxidant is hydrogen. I mean, it's coming now, right? Like you said, it's there. It's coming out of everywhere. Machines are popping up. I believe that your machine that you have selected came from the right reasons. But can we go into any possible contraindication at all? Because that's
okay. Let's go into the contraindication. Sorry about that. I definitely got lost in all this craziness. Okay.
Yeah. People really.
So let's do this.
Yes, Greg, we're getting some feedback from the community saying, "Oh, too much hydrogen's good." Not, and they don't know. But go into the contraindications in general about hydrogen water.
Yeah. Let's definitely go into the contraindications that are backed by the absolute latest science and data. Okay. Again, I'm not making any medical claims, but this is information that everybody can find. Okay. So the contraindications that concern me, because I've seen it. So the data's there, but I've seen it too. So just so you know, when the data comes out, I've been way ahead of this whole thing for years. Let's say you're on medications for high blood pressure, for some type of diabetes, for cholesterol issues, things of this nature. Okay.
Yeah.
Hydrogen, one of the beautiful things about hydrogen is that it actually appears to enhance certain things, not every single thing, because remember, hydrogen does something very weird. It's selective in its nature. That's something that always kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Amazed me. the fact that it would do things selectively. Like, I'm only going to do things if it's good for you. That's why I always felt like it was like almost like an angel watching over us.
So you're,
And
so
so
you're saying that there's some medications that will actually enhance the benefit of that medication. Tell that to your friend, Barbara, but
Well, no.
yeah,
So you're saying, so if someone is on insulin, then you're saying that could it dilute the insulin, or you're saying it could actually enhance the insulin so they would need less? I mean, this is something that if someone's on blood pressure medication, insulin, antidepressants, they need to know. Right?
absolutely. So let me get to that, because this is important. And I do have the answer for this, even though it's not a medical claim or giving medical advice. So this is what it is. Anything you take, if you can enhance the way it works, then it could be potentially a little too powerful. So you have to understand that if you're going to use something in combination with something, you might have to lay off one of them. So let me give you an example. Let's talk about, first we're going to talk about high blood pressure, but we'll get to insulin. We'll get to all of it.
And by the way, there's someone on this call who had surgery who was on blood pressure medicine and drinking the hydrogen water, and her blood pressure is getting lower. I don't know if it's
Yes.
she had big surgery.
Let me go ahead and answer that question, because that's exactly what I was about to talk about. Because I already know, I've seen it. Remember, I've been doing this for so many years. I already know. I've seen it a million times. Okay, so this is what happens. You're taking blood pressure medication to lower your blood pressure, right? The problem is when you're taking hydrogen, two things are happening. One, it's making the medication work too good. And two, in my opinion, it potentially is resolving the underlying problem. So what's that going to do? If your medication is supposed to bring you down to here, hydrogen's kind of solving the problem potentially. So it brings it even lower, because you're taking the pills to bring it to here, but it's bringing it too low because it's resolving the issue. Plus, it's making the medicine work too good. So now your blood pressure drops too low. Understand?
Yes, got it.
And so this is why I always tell people, if you have certain medicines that you're on, especially blood pressure medicine, cholesterol medicine, diabetes medicine, those are the big ones. All right. And I've seen more though. I'll talk about those more too.
Will you talk about
Please.
diabetes?
Yeah, we'll talk about diabetes in a second. Please monitor your numbers, because as the hydrogen is potentially, and I'm just saying maybe, right? Because I don't want to make a medical claim, but if it's beginning to resolve the problem, you're going to have to back off the medicine. You understand?
Yeah.
Which is a good thing for you, because we all know the pharmaceuticals don't have the best side effects, right? So you will slowly back off of it until eventually you get off of it. And I've seen this. I've worked with people who are on these pills and they have to back off. The doctor's like, whoa, something's going on here. We don't understand it. I'm so sorry. Look, doctors are smart people, but they don't understand hydrogen. And so they just see the results. And I've literally had doctors contact me because they can't believe the results, and their patients tell them, hey, this is where I heard it. And they're like, I've had doctors call me for advice. They're like, how are you doing this? I need to know for my own family. So they actually want to know for themselves, not that they're going to be able to talk about it at work because they're under a lot of control. Okay. So with diabetes, it's the same thing. Hydrogen appears, and I've seen it, but again, for legal purposes, I'm just telling you that it appears that it can actually help control blood glucose levels. And also when you build insulin resistance, I don't know how much you guys understand about this, but it's kind of like, let's use alcohol as an example. Some person who drinks 1 or 2 drinks and they feel the alcohol, but what happens if they continue to use alcohol regularly for years? They become more resistant to it. So now they're drinking 6 or 12 beers. And I get a lot of emails like that too. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So it's the same thing with the resistance to insulin. Little by little, you end up needing more and more. When you're using hydrogen, the insulin begins to work too good, because now you're using hydrogen with it, and your body that originally became resistant to it now is kind of going backwards, and the amount of insulin you're taking is having too much of an impact. So what do? You got to back off of it, meaning use less and less until you reach the point where you're just not on it anymore, depending on what type of diabetic you are, because it does matter if you're type 1 or type 2. Is this answering your questions?
It does. So type 1, where the pancreas has shut down, what would the insulin still be more enhanced regardless of the lack of insulin production?
So in my opinion, it depends on the status of the pancreas, because if the pancreas still has some life in it, now if you had it all removed, that's different. But I know a lot of people who are type 1 diabetics where the pancreas are still functioning at 5% or even 10%, but they completely need insulin to survive. And then you got people who they just remove their pancreas completely, or the pancreas is not working at all. Okay. So the answer would be different depending on the person.
Right.
So the one with no pancreas, you're going to find that the insulin is working more efficiently if you're using hydrogen. Hydrogen will literally save you money. I knew a woman who she saved so much money by using hydrogen because she was using less insulin, and they were charging her literally an arm and a leg. You know, it's crazy how much they were charging for her insulin. That poor woman. It breaks my heart. I hate to see the corruption that I'm seeing in the world. It just bothers me. But that's one aspect of it. If you're type 2 and you're utilizing some other medication or insulin, and if you can follow a proper hydrogen protocol with clean water, then what I've seen people eventually just get off of insulin altogether with type 2. So
I would believe that. So Greg, I think at this point, okay, and what about if someone's on anxiety meds, or someone asked me, or antidepressants? I would imagine it would dilute that too. But is that something that hydrogen could cure, anxiety or depression or OCD?
All right. This is, I mean, I love your guys' questions, and I love it more when I have the answers, because if I don't have the answers, it's the dead end. But I do have some answers for you on this. You have to remember, why am I on an antidepressant? Because you don't know necessarily the underlying problem. Let's say, for example, you had a loved one. Like, what if your partner, your husband or wife, and a child passed away, and you're like, I am so depressed, I cannot shake this, it's been a year, I can't shake it. Do you really think a pill is going to solve the death of a loved one, a child, something of this nature? A pill doesn't solve these things.
No, but let's
This is not.
Yeah, no, I agree with not situational, but more, let's say, genetic, which is probably
Okay. So, and let me just say, forget genetic. Let's talk about something that is more biological. Because let's say your body isn't functioning right. You're not making the proper chemicals, your gut's a mess, you're overweight, everything's just a mess in your body and your health, and that's affecting your happiness, right? I mean, we could talk about something like that. I want to share with you, it's so funny that you brought this up, because I literally just got an email yesterday about this. This person with mental health issues, dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression, these type of things, right? Mental health disorders. This person has been getting such great benefit from hydrogen, and I still haven't even made the testimonial video. And they said once they stopped using it, that's when they really realized how much it was helping them.
wow.
And they immediately wanted to get back on, because think about it, all the chemicals, all the imbalances in the body and how they affect us emotional. This is why it's so important. I mean, I keep trying to emphasize it to people. Your health and your happiness is so crucial. You know, it's so crucial to have things balanced in order to really feel, your best. And then there's situational things, where, situational things is a whole other thing, because I feel like the world is really in a situational issue right now.
World
So
is
many
in a
people are stressed.
situation.
Yeah, but
Go ahead, finish that, because I had another thought. Go ahead, finish your answer. Oh, sorry.
no, I was just saying that basically having your body in proper balance. And the biggest things that I've ever discovered for your balance of your health and your emotional well-being is, one, super clean water. Because guys, there is crazy things in our water, including pharmaceuticals. They throw your mental instability off, your mental stability off, So it's clean water, it's hydrogen, and overcoming any nutritional deficiencies. Did you guys know, this is some new data, by the way, did you know there's people who supposedly have schizophrenia? Did you know now it's being linked to certain deficiencies in nutrients in their bodies? Did you guys hear about this?
That's been, yes, that has been around, and people, you know, the pharmaceutical companies and doctors trained in one way won't honor that, but there are a lot of holistic doctors, and yeah, deficiencies in omegas and this and that, and totally.
Well, it
Yeah,
was completely, it was verified. It was verified to specific B vitamins. People can literally be hallucinating and hearing things they shouldn't be hearing. And it comes to a deficiency. And what have I been saying from the get-go? Because there's data to support it, that when you have certain deficiencies, it leads to certain disease. I mean, vitamin C is always my favorite one, because when you're deficient in vitamin C, it leads to scurvy. You fix the deficiency, scurvy will go away. If that lets you know anything, is that if you want to be at optimal health, you need to overcome nutritional deficiencies. But I don't like vitamins. I don't like vitamins because these synthetic pills, in my opinion, too many supplements could potentially strain the kidneys because of how they make pills. Look at this thing. The product that I use for my nutritional deficiencies, it wasn't even intended to be a vitamin of all things. This thing is just food. But when I looked at the nutritional label, they were trying to make it be a food supplement, meaning that if you don't have time to eat food, this will give you all your nutrients. But it's from food. So I started using it in my smoothies. I don't even take a multivitamin, guys. And when I get my blood work, my doctors are asking me, how are you accomplishing this? How are you doing this? We cannot believe what we're seeing.
You, correct me if I'm wrong. You attribute the restoration and healing to the hydrogen water primarily. That's why we're here. Is that correct?
Well, okay. So just remember, we talked about synergistic things. Try to think of a car. Like, oh, do you think my car is all good because I got new tires on it? Well, what if the engine isn't running? What if the transmission's broken? Like, what if the car has no wheels on it? You know, everything works synergistically. Nutrients and clean water are important. But let me tell you something. Hydrogen is the one thing, because I did the nutrients. I did the clean water.
That's
I
what
still had issues. Hydrogen is the one thing. Remember this. Hydrogen is, it's so special, guys. I mean, it is the source of all life. Think about everything on planet Earth. We have all the minerals. We have, you know, this earth. You got water, but think about it. What good is it without the light of the sun? Think about it. What good is everything on planet Earth if you don't have the light of the entire world?
One issue that I think was related to some.
Alan, we lost you.
Yeah, but let me go back to the light, because let me tell you something. I don't care what you have. If you don't have light, you're in trouble. You understand?
Yeah. Can you talk about how it passes the blood-brain barrier too and wakes people's minds up to?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have the magic. I mean, I wish I could, I could explain it all to you guys, but this will take a while. But hydrogen easily goes past the blood-brain barrier, easily goes to the brain. You guys should watch the video that I have a video about a woman with Alzheimer's, dementia, unbelievable video, before and after pictures also. Nobody in the pharmaceutical industry can touch Alzheimer's, guys, meaning that they can't fix it. Even the most expensive of drugs are not to fix it. It's just to try to slow down the progression. There was a woman who followed my protocol for Alzheimer's dementia for her mother. It was her mother who had the issue. The results were so unreal. There's already some medical centers in Japan working on hydrogen for Alzheimer's and dementia, because it hasn't been approved for it yet. But they're already seeing that it appears to be working. You know, all I can tell you is, if you want to get to the pineal gland, I think we all know about the pineal gland. In order to reach it, it's so tiny. This is what the power of hydrogen has. All the foods, all the nutrients, all these amazing things. Hydrogen is so tiny, guys, and so pure. It can reach any nick and cranny of the entire human body. There is no place it cannot reach. There's just no other place there's no place that it cannot reach. It goes through everything too. Haven't you guys seen it goes through metal, through glass? I mean, you can't contain it. It's crazy.
Okay, so Greg,
it's unbelievable.
The first question is, are there different people buy the machine? are there different protocols for dementia versus, gut issues versus
Right. They're all the same.
mold?
Well, I do have protocols that I have created. Do I have different protocols for different things? Yes. Mostly because somebody who's healthy could drink a certain amount of hydrogen water and inhale. Here, I got my inhaler right here. Inhale a little hydrogen gas and maintain health. Sure. If you have some major problems, like there was a woman who had, this really shocked me. She had macular degeneration, which by the way, is deemed incurable in the world of medicine. I don't know how much you guys know about, macular degeneration. She went all out. She was drinking so much of the water and inhaling the gas. I mean, like all day long, she was using hydrogen. And it took about a year and she got rid of her macular degeneration. It was unbelievable. I had never even known, I'd never heard a story like, because I never knew that it could get rid of such a thing. But people are always emailing me with the results following different protocols that I've created. I mean, this solved her problem. That was a big deal. Again, I'm not making a medical claim. I'm only telling you what somebody emailed me. It was unbelievable. Then, of course, I got more in the future. Go ahead.
Different protocols then for different situations. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, there's definitely different protocols depending on what you're dealing with. But there's also kind of like what I would call a foundational thing. And when I say foundational, I mean like, I think it's really great to drink 2 liters of hydrogen water a day. I think 2 liters is a really nice number. Can you do more? Yes. Do I do more? Yes. It all depends on what you're dealing with. And then the inhalation is different too, because the water reacts differently to the gas. Now, my protocol
Yeah, somebody asked about that. Sorry, if you could talk about that.
Yeah, my opinion is if you got to choose one, you always choose the water. The data shows that the water is better than the gas. But I created a protocol, and the Japanese, whoever created this machine, was way ahead of the curve, as I have been. And what they discovered is that the combination is ideal. That's why they made a machine that does both. Because most machines only do one or the other, and they usually don't do both very good. This particular machine does both at an extremely high level. It's literally the best I've seen. Like everything out there doesn't even touch it. This is the best hydrogen, super clean gas. I don't recommend hydrogen gas with chemicals like lye, and I don't recommend hydrogen machines that use stainless steel. It's a terrible metal to use for hydrogen. People don't understand the science of metals is so advanced, especially when you have to use ionization. It's so important. And I don't like hydrogen machines that use plated metals. You got to remember that these things could potentially be leaching into your water and then you're drinking it. It's not a good idea in my opinion. But I have to be cautious about how I talk about all this,
No, I know. So Greg, there's a foundational protocol just for health where you mentioned 2 liters of water is what you feel is good. It might be different for someone else. And then if there's a health issue, then it can be addressed in a different way based on protocols. So let's just pick something like mold. Everyone's getting mold.
Yeah, I know. Everybody, I know.
It's coming out of the woodwork.
I know. It's crazy. I tell you what, why don't I tell you guys what I personally do? Because I have been told by lawyers who have contacted me also, who really love what I do. There's some lawyers who really like what I do. And they want help too, by the way, for their health and their families. This is when people really want to know, they come to me and they always try to give me advice as far as what I can and cannot say. So this is what I will say. What I personally do, let me give you my personal hydrogen protocol just to keep myself where I'm at.
But what was your ailment? Like in other words, what did people need to know what you cured yourself of?
Okay, well, we won't use the word cure, but I will tell you I'll tell you some of the things that I went through, because I went through a lot, as you probably know, Barbara. And I'm going to try to tell you without crying here, because I am emotionally scarred. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I am extremely emotionally scarred by what I've been through as far as my health is concerned. So let's see if I can get this out before I start breaking down here, because it brings up memories. I hope you understand. One, I had a very bad heart condition. I was told that my heart condition, I required open heart surgery for it, and that it would most likely end my life if I didn't get something done. So that's one of the things that I was dealing with. I was dealing with tumors in my body. So I had different types of tumors. Some were actually even in my nerves, extremely painful, to the point where they really just mess with your head. You know, after a while, it begins to affect you psychologically. I was dealing with inflammation all over my body that was so painful, like arthritic pain and nerve pain, to the point where I couldn't even lift the remote control to change the channels on the television. I certainly couldn't be playing video games. I can't be changing the remote control, let alone walking. You know, I couldn't walk. I'm sure we've talked about this before. So I couldn't, you know, I was having a lot of issues in regards to that. My immune system was absolute trash. So my immune system was so bad that if I caught something, and I could catch it very easily, every year I'd get sick multiple times. And it would take me like a month to recover from just a common cold. And then when I would recover, within a week, I'd be sick again. And I would go right back into it. It was, I hate being sick. I don't know if any of you have had the flu and your nose is so stuffed up and you got headaches and you can't talk, and it's just very uncomfortable, right? And now I'm trying to remember all the other issues because I've literally kind of forgotten because it's been a while. And so, the autoimmune issue. So I had a lot of issues with my gut and this kind of like autoimmune issue, again, getting sick easily and inflammation everywhere. My gut was a mess. Also, I had a lot of skin issues too. A lot of people don't know. I had acne. It was pretty bad, you know, on top of all that. So those are just some of the issues. If I tried to go back, I'd have to literally, my liver wasn't actually at its best either. So I'd have to go through all my issues and try to remember them all. And I had to find my way out of these things, you know, and this is something that hydrogen, it wasn't just me. I actually went down this journey with my father. My father had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, glaucoma. So he had eye issues. And then he had really bad arthritis. And he didn't make all the changes that I made because I was trying to experiment with everything. I was trying to do the diet and all this stuff. My father didn't want to change. You know, he's like a lot of stubborn people, and I get it. And anyway, my father just did all he was willing to do was he said, look, the way I showed him how to clean water. This is what he told me. I'll speak like he does. You know, he's like, look, the way that you show me how to clean water and make this hydrogen, that's all I'm going to do. And I was like, Dad, you know, I think if you made some dietary changes, maybe get your nutrients up. He said, nope, I'm not going to do any of it. I'm going to continue to live my life, eat all this crap. And I was thinking, oh, Dad, this is not going to work. But he said, but I will follow the clean water and the hydrogen. I honestly didn't think it worked, Barbara. And this is dangerous to say probably, but all his issues went away just with the hydrogen.
Including
I
his
was
diabetes.
so impressed.
You said including his diabetes went away, Greg?
Oh yeah. Everything, Alan, everything that he had, including the glaucoma. By the way, the diabetes wasn't the hardest one. It was the glaucoma. He had glaucoma for over 3 decades. Well documented. He had to go to the doctor every year to make sure that he wouldn't go blind. I mean, he had to see the doctor regularly. And it took, by the way, the hydrogen didn't resolve it in a day or 2 or even 6 months. All his issues were gone in 6 to 8 months, except the glaucoma. The glaucoma didn't go away till 3 years. It wasn't until the 3rd year when he got his eyes checked that the doctor was like, something's wrong. We don't show you have glaucoma, but we know you have it. You've been coming here forever. So they brought him back multiple times to do multiple tests because they said, this is not right. This is impossible. They actually thought they made a mistake. I didn't tell you guys about this?
I
think about your dad. I want to just say, so we kind of got off track. You said, yes, you're really not supposed to drink water a lot with food because it dilutes the stomach enzymes and acids. So in your perfect protocol world for maintaining health, how soon after you eat or take supplements do you think is beneficial to have the water?
Well, it's a tough question because, I mean, I can definitely answer it, but it depends on the supplement because there's certain supplements that are best taken with food. And then there's some supplements that are better taken without food. Okay, so this is the first thing.
Greg, can you name those supplements just so we have an idea what you're talking about?
That's well, that's hard. Like enzymes you don't take with food, certain proteolytic enzymes. I mean, you could go through, there's so many, and most of them absorb with food or if it's a powder. But I just want to say one thing. I'm so sorry, Ellen. So like a meal, you go out for dinner. When do you have the water? An hour later, 2 hours later, before bed?
Can you just
Okay,
answer
so
the question as far as which supplements, yes, powder versus pill? But can you just say which supplements you think are better to take with the water and not?
okay, so let's go ahead and answer both your questions. Here's the thing. Barbara was absolutely correct. And this is why I love you guys. And actually, I found that it's best to have you both on when we talk. Because Barbara's absolutely correct. The list would be, there's a very long list to try to figure out what supplement with food, without food. She's right about the enzymes. So here's the thing. Regardless of whatever supplement you use, in my opinion, you want to drink the hydrogen water on an empty stomach. Always.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing. Because, by the way, it functions just like water, except all you've really done is taken water and supercharged. You've literally taken it to another level. So you always start with empty stomach, hydrate the colon, bring the magic of hydrogen into your body, and it's going to be ready to do whatever it's going to do when food finally comes in. Okay. Now, let's say you do eat. Okay, so you eat, you got a bunch of food in your stomach. Can you drink some hydrogen water? If it's made properly, because remember, I told you, definitely don't do it if it's Kangen water. Do not drink any of that stuff when there's food in your stomach. I wouldn't even drink it when there's no food in your stomach, but definitely not with food. But the water that I make with the device from the Japanese, the number one device in all of Japan, it is the best one. They're light years ahead of everybody. Could you have a little bit of water with your food? Absolutely, no problem. Because it's pH neutral, it's full of hydrogen. In my opinion, totally fine. Okay.
So the hydrogen wouldn't interact in any kind of a chemical way. I mean, food is such a diverse subject, again, like vitamins, that there's nothing molecular that could have an interaction that could be uncomfortable.
In my opinion, as long as it's made properly, I think it's fine.
Thank you. That's
the difference.
Got it.
But if
Yeah.
it's not made, Barbara, that's where he's saying, and I think that's what your friend was researching, the other hydrogens. And he's saying, no, it's very, very dangerous. I mean, there's all this scare tactics because they're not understanding what you're understanding, Greg, about the purity of the holy hydrogen water, if we want to call it.
That's right. And by the way, one of my protocols, and this is, remember, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, there's a lot of stuff that I've come up with that has actually been studied now, because I've been doing this for just almost a decade, that has basically proven that just about every single theory or hypothesis that I've come up with has actually been proven to be true. I mean, I'm literally batting like 1,000. Everything that I've come up with appears to be correct. And here's one of my next ones. I'm already implementing it. Inhaling hydrogen while you eat. So you don't drink the water while you eat, guys. You drink the water before you eat, hydrate the GI system 20 to 30 minutes before a meal, empty stomach, and then I inhale while I eat, because this is different.
What happens when you inhale while I mean, obviously it's permeating your membranes, but why while you're eating would you breathe it?
So there's multiple reasons. So I'll try to keep it brief, because we could go on and on about why I inhale while I eat. But this is some of the reasons. One, when you inhale, there's already data showing that it opens up the ghost vessels. So it's a medical term. You can Google it. It's called ghost vessels. You literally have places in your body where you have like these blood vessels where there's no blood going into anymore. And this happens as you age. Okay.
Right.
So they're like ghost towns, kind of like having a ghost town somewhere. It used to be a vibrant city. Now there's nothing there. When you're inhaling, it opens up the ghost vessels. Blood starts getting in there. What people don't realize, and it's an ancient scriptural verse that says life is in the blood. Part of my technique and what I've developed, as far as techniques are concerned, or protocols that I've developed is blood is everything, guys. Everything that goes in your mouth is going to end up in your blood. You eat a Twinkie, you're going to measure in your blood, you're going to get that sugar spike and whatever, okay? The blood brings the nutrients to your tissues. So it's all about blood flow, blood movement. If you've ever seen what hydrogen does for blood flow, oh my goodness, watch my video 68. Doctors thought it was impossible, and we ended up proving that it was real. They just couldn't believe that it was real, the way it moves the blood. This is why exercise is good. You want to move the blood. Movement is life, okay? Something that's dead just sits there. You see a little child full of life, what are they doing? They're running around in their diaper. They're not even wearing clothes because they're so warm, right? Because all the blood flow creates the heat. And guess what hydrogen does? It has been shown to increase core body temperature and get blood moving because it is the source of life, guys. I've been telling you, it's a spiritual molecule. It is the life-giving molecule. I mean, Jesus spoke so much about life in ancient scriptures, you know, the living water and all this stuff. Life is the movement. This is so important. And they even call hydrogen oftentimes active hydrogen because it's so active, it's moving, it's like vibrating like crazy. It's just such a magical molecule. I mean, I'm clearly in love with it. So, you know, because it's so good for us. So when I inhale it and I'm eating food and I'm bringing these nutrients, because by the way, I'm not eating Twinkies and cheeseburgers, okay? I'm bringing in the nutrients. Watch my smoothies. I mean, I show how to do all this for free, by the way, on my YouTube channel. And this is part of the nutrients, right? I put this stuff in my smoothie. I put minerals in it. And then what do I do when I sit down and drink my smoothie? I start inhaling. Get those nutrients everywhere in your body. But I'm not bringing water into my stomach that messes with my GI system. I'm inhaling the gas, and the gas goes into my bloodstream, opens up these ghost vessels. And in my opinion, there's still data that that I believe will come out in the future. Because remember how it enhances everything? I believe that it's enhancing our absorption of nutrients. And I say that because I've literally been tested so many times on my blood. And they just they're actually shocked that I don't like to talk about this too much, but I literally don't eat meat. I definitely don't consume dairy. I don't eat eggs. There's a lot of things that I don't eat that people kind of get on me about. But yet when I do my blood work, the doctors are like, how are you achieving all these nutrients in your blood? You're like not even deficient. Do you realize that almost everybody is deficient? Almost every single person in America is deficient in something. Almost everybody. How is this clown, because that's what they're like, oh, this guy's on YouTube. How, he doesn't know anything. How am I getting my blood work to look like this? And it's not even complicated.
Well, I think
it's actually quite simple.
More importantly, Greg, you're young, you're eating healthy. It's where you came from. You were very, very ill, and you have completely restored yourself, which is what brings about your passion and the truth of what you're talking about. And so I think that's important for people, to hear, because there are, some young, healthy people, and you've turned your life around, but you've also seen countless testimonials of people that are getting healed. And it is known that hydrogen is the number one antioxidant now. I mean, like I said, everyone's saying it. So, yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
No, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, some people are asking what Greg's site and YouTube is.
Oh yeah, what is your site?
Well, my YouTube channel is called Uprising 144K.
Okay,
I mean, that's the name of the.
You have a website too?
I do not have a website because I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but like I'm literally running my channel on a shoestring budget. I mean, I don't even have a website. It costs money, and I've been doing this for free because I wanted everybody to have access to it. So this is not like, oh, I have a website and I have, I don't know. This is just a path that I embarked on my own. I literally have a, $10 tripod and an old iPhone, and I mean, I don't have a ton of backers or anything like that. People are trying to help me. That's probably the reason why my channel's been so small. That's what I've been told by a lot of people, because I don't have deep pockets of people trying to help me get big.
Are you open to people contacting you and paying you, or however you work it out? You don't, for individual protocols, and how do they reach you if that's something that you're open to?
Barbara, it's a difficult question because this is dangerous to say, but I have a hard time saying no to people because I know what it's like to suffer. And when somebody's suffering and I believe that I can potentially help them, of course I can't say no. I want to help people. The biggest problem I have is the world is so full of people who want help that eventually I just get overwhelmed. And if I'm really quite upfront with you, I've been contemplating not even doing this anymore because it's beginning to pull me down. And I don't know what to do because I want to help people, but I think I need to find a way that's more efficient. The problem is I'm not really a computer guy. I don't know how to open up websites. I don't have a team of people helping me with all sorts of stuff. I'm just a guy who figured it out. That's all I am. I'm just a guy who figured. I remember there was a woman who had type 1 diabetes. I put a story about her on one of my videos. And the results that I achieved with her were apparently so dramatic that her doctor literally said, what we're witnessing here is impossible. He says, but yet I'm witnessing it. How did you do it? How did you come up with this? And she said, well, there's this guy on YouTube and he's the one who told me how to do this. This was years ago when I had more time. These days things have been so hectic for me. And the doctor was like, no way there's some guy on YouTube showing you this. He goes, you understand this is like worthy of a Nobel Prize? He's like, there's no weirdo on
Greg,
YouTube showing you how to do this.
We'll talk at a later date, but there is a way to kind of monetize this, but also help people with protocol. There's a way to do it. So we'll talk another time, but.
And Barbara, to touch on that, I totally believe that you're right. I think we just need the right people so that we can put these protocols, because I have numerous of them, on paper somehow to be able to help others, so that way I don't have to keep repeating, because I do everything on an individual basis. I'm on phone calls with people. And if you guys want to work with me on that, I'm open to that, so that I don't repeat myself a million times, because I do that a lot. And it's become very exhausting.
That's why we want to do these programs with you, Greg, so we can get the word out. People can follow the protocols from these videos. I have 80,000 subscribers to my YouTube channel. So maybe some of them are finding out about you and want to follow that. I want to ask Terry. Terry, do you have anything, because you're in the health field as far as researching a lot? Do you have anything you want to ask Greg while you're here, while he's here? You, Terry. Yes, Terry Bloom. Yes.
The only question I have is that, as you know, Dr. Mercola has been really promoting his capsules, and I understand that's a different delivery and that this is superior, but I don't know why. And Greg, thank you for your generosity, and I hear you, because people will ask, and it's going to deplete you, and that's not what you're here for, And you have to be careful legally, which you are being. But I'd like to know, because I know someone taking the Mercola hydrogen and they're actually feeling better, and I'd like to know very simply the difference, please, and thank you.
Yeah. So first of all, well, let me tell you this: hydrogen is pH neutral, and by the way, hydrogen made correctly in the most purest form. I'm all about purity, whether it's with food. I don't need chemicals on my food. I don't need pesticides in my food. I need my food grown the way that it should be grown. Hydrogen is pH neutral. Hydrogen is odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Okay? These are 4 important points about hydrogen. Now let's talk about the pills. Are the hydrogen pills pH neutral? No. When you drop them in water, the water turns acidic. So it turns to acid. 2, are the pills colorless? Nope. When you drop them in the bottle of water, it turns gray. 3, hold on a second.
It's okay.
Sorry, guys. Somebody's trying to call me. My phone never stops. People just keep trying to call me all the time. So sorry, that's what was happening there. 3, hydrogen is, well, we were talking about colorless, but when you drop it in the thing, it turns gray. Tasteless. Ask your friend what it tastes like when you drink that water after you put the pills, because I know what it tastes like because I've done it. It tastes like metal. Why would it taste like metal? And then, of course, last, it has this weird odor to it. Now, I know about Mercola's pills, and here's why I'm cautious. Are we on YouTube, or where are we at on this thing?
YouTube, Greg, we are.
So I don't know how much to say about this because I don't know what will get me in trouble. The thing I will tell you is,
How about
Sorry
just
about it.
pills in general? Why don't we just talk about your feeling?
pills in general.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about pills.
Oh, wait, I
Let me
think
just-
if you have insight and people, I mean, maybe Mercola needs to be challenged. I think he's doing great work, but maybe he doesn't have all the answers. So I don't think you'll get in trouble. It's your opinion. And I think that needs to be expressed if you care to do that.
Let me just say this, Alan, because I would love to give you the data because I've got it. But what you don't understand is that I've already had a law firm from Mercola and others go after me. They don't want me talking about their pills. They're actually scared to death that I'll talk about their pills.
Well, you've already
Which-
talked about.
No,
Well,
just talk about like a generic hydrogen pill made in Uganda. What would your feeling be about that?
Let me just say this, because this is, I think, the best answer I can give you guys to just stay out of this conversation. Would I take the pills? Never. In my opinion, I personally think that they are incredibly foolish to take those things if you're trying to get hydrogen properly. In fact, I'll just say this. Do you think the number one medical professionals in Japan use hydrogen pills for their patients? No, they wouldn't be so stupid.
I want to ask
They
you,
would.
is hydrogen in the pills, which might be why Terry's friend is getting better? Is there any benefit to those pills?
You know, Alan, the truth is, look, do the pills make some hydrogen? Yes. The thing is, I would love to tell you what's actually in them. The problem is I don't want to go down that road to open up a can of worms for myself. But I have the lab reports. I know what's in
But
them.
also,
And let me
Greg,
tell you
you
something.
said it's how long, like they might feel better in the short term.
That's
And
right.
also some placebo, but over a course of time, if those metals are leaching in, then what's going to happen?
If I could begin to tell you the people that I know who've taken those things in the long term and what's happened to them, look, let me just say this. When these lawyers went after me, toxicologists took a look at the lab reports of those pills. Because I don't want to begin to say, I don't want to begin to talk about it too much. All I'll tell you is that the toxicologists who looked at the lab reports said, I would never put that in my body. That's what they said. They're like, I'm just telling you what they said. I'm not making any claims. They were just, after they saw what was in those pills, they're like, are you kidding? That would be very, very stupid. And if you knew what was in them, which I'll tell you guys off air, but the important part is I would never and look, and I used to take them, by the way. I used to take, and it was a brand, I won't even name the brand. There was these pills I used to take. There were hydrogen pills. I didn't know what was it. I didn't understand hydrogen like this back in the day. Once I saw the lab report and realized what's in them, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is so stupid. This is a huge reason why I'm not big on supplements. You know how many supplements have you guys? I mean, you need to like look at lab tests. All these pills and the things that end up in them. I mean, did you hear about the woman who, I think she almost died from taking some supplement, it was liver problems, and I've seen a ton of stuff like that, like this stuff, like back to the stuff that I like to take, the curium stuff. I've seen a lab test on
I
this.
like that.
This stuff is this stuff is so clean. Look at the name, Purium, pure. What was the water I like from mypurewater.com?
Somebody
I'm
asked
really
that.
big-
Can you just say that the water machine that you like?
Barbara, I just want to say that it makes sense that to get hydrogen would be through the H2O, through water that contains hydrogen and not a pill. It just makes sense to me that the best way to take hydrogen is through the medium that already contains hydrogen. That makes sense.
Well,
100%.
go ahead.
No.
You guys go
So
ahead.
Greg, somebody asked on the chat, what is the ideal water to make? And I know the company that you suggest, it's kind of reasonable, to put in the hydrogen machine. And if you don't have that, what's the second best thing?
Okay, so everybody and their mother seems to argue about what the best water is. This is one of the biggest frustrations I had when I was trying to find my path to health, because I just somehow believed that water was very important in all this. When I began to research water, oh my goodness, guys. I don't, again, not to toot my own horn. I'm practically a water expert these days. I know every single water filtration modality in existence. I know them all. And what I look at the data in regards to what does it filter out and what does it not filter out. Now, these water companies, you have to remember, they want to tell you what you want to hear. So they'll show you a list and be like, look, it filters this, this, this. They'll tell you all the things that it filters out. What about the things that it doesn't filter out? They're not going to tell you that. They don't want to tell you what it doesn't filter out. They want to tell you what it does filter out. I didn't look at things that way because I'm not a company. I just wanted the cleanest water known to man. And what I discovered is the cleanest water is the way that nature makes it. And that's through something called the hydrologic system. If people just want the simple answer, just go to a website called mypurewater.com. The equipment that they sell there, and if people want a discount code, I do have a discount code for them if they want a coupon. The discount code is the same name as my YouTube channel, Uprising144K. I'll give you a discount. These devices are not made in China. All my research leads me away from China. I don't like the stuff made in China. Okay. And by the way, yeah, it's Uprising144K, all in one word, all together. The stuff that I tend to like is either made in America, mypurewater.com, that piece of equipment, and they have like multiple pieces of equipment. There you go. That's the right way, Barbara. And those pieces of equipment are made in America. They use higher grade of components in order to make their devices super reliable, which is something that I really like too. I hate when my machines break. I mean, I love stuff that's high quality. Everything I use is a little more expensive, but it's super high quality. And in the end, it ends up being cheaper because it lasts longer. And then you do it right. So they're basically what I call carbon distillers. And I even have, of all things, we were talking about it here. Look at this. Third-party lab tested as far as the water that these devices make. These things take everything out of the water. They're my favorite equipment. This is what I personally use. I can show it to you right here. It's literally right next to me, by the way.
But you have to add the minerals back in, right?
Yes. And these things are super cheap. They remove almost all the salt out of them. They have all these great minerals, and they're super cheap.
They do, but you got to really drink it fast because that company.
The taste.
Woo.
Now here's one thing. Because of the hydrogen enhancing the absorption of nutrients and minerals, I barely put any of this stuff in my water. You know where I put this stuff and I can't even taste it? I put it in my smoothie. Why my smoothie, Barbara? Guess what? This was one of my theories that ended up being proven right many years later. Remember I said all these theories I come up with are proven later? Somebody's watching my channel because all these scientists are doing the studies of the stuff that I come up with. When you put the minerals with fiber from fruits and vegetables, let me tell you something, the fiber is magical. People who just juice and remove all the fiber, big mistake. The fiber is so crucial, and there's so much data to support it. And the Japanese are doing crazy research on it. I put the minerals with my smoothie, which is my multivitamin. I also add, this is what I add to my smoothies. I add this powder and these minerals. That's it. Nothing crazy. And this is all food, by the way, superfoods. This is all I put in my smoothies. And that is my multivitamin. And when I do that, crazy absorption into my body as far as the nutrients are concerned. This is why the doctors are like,
do you use hydrogen water? What's the liquid you use in your smoothie and what greens do you use?
So I have massive amounts of videos. I literally have been doing them live every single morning. So everybody can see me doing them live.
Got it.
And I use the hydrogen water that is super clean because I use the carbon distilled, which is the water. I mean, again, if you look at the lab tests, because it's the cleanest water, Barbara. That's all I ever wanted. I just wanted clean water.
You use
That was my goal.
for the smoothie. Can we see the My Pure Water machine? You said it's right there. I just want to see how.
Yeah, I can show it to you. In fact, I could fire it up right now.
Greg,
In fact, guess what? I will. Yeah, go ahead.
If someone can only buy one machine, they're going to buy the hydrogen machine. So is there something else besides the pure water machine while they're saving up their money that they can get to make?
Barbara, I've been using mineral water from Sedona out of the well, and it's really fails fantastic with the hydrogen. So, but where's the machine? But so there's lots of water.
There, I
That's
literally
it.
just turned it on. That's right
Greg,
there.
that
And
machine is not on the site. That particular machine is not on the Pure Water site. That one I went
Yeah, it
on.
is. It's
It
called
is?
Mini Classic. It's called the Mini Classic CT. There's
Really?
multiple machines that they have. They don't have a ton of machines, but they have 2 countertop systems. That's a countertop system that I'm using. And that is called the Mini Classic CT. That is the same exact one. It literally says right on there. I mean, I can show you the label. It says,
Like how
my
much
pure
is
water.
that? What's the price point on that?
So that one costs about $700 and something. And with the discount code, which is uprising 144K, it goes down to like $600 and something. But the difference between something like this and a cheap Chinese one, which could be a few $100s cheaper, the Chinese ones, they break. I've had them. I've bought so many of these machines. I've wasted so much money. These ones are extremely reliable. I have an old one. It still works. Been using the crap out of it. I lend it out. To my friends who want to be able to clean their water. And so this is the one that I have, but they have another one that's normally 600 and something. And with the discount code, it's like 500 and something. And it's also extremely good. And I have one of those too. I actually gave it to my parents. So I'm letting them using it.
So I wanted to say one thing, Alan. The machine, and these are some comments. People walk in,
Sure.
they're like, oh, it looks like a plastic machine. And what I say to them, because it's not fancy on the outside, guys. It's not like you're getting something that the Pure Water machine looks more fancy on the outside than the Holy Hydrogen. But it really is the intricacy of the mechanism, which we have learned from Greg. And it's just super, super quality. And why did I bring? Oh, so yeah, and the way you do the hydrogen and when you nebulize is as the hydrogen is being made, someone asked, you actually have the cannula in and you're breathing it in as the water is being made in a 90-minute cycle or 30-minute, whatever you want.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I could put it on right now if you guys like. I don't mind breathing in some hydrogen while we're hanging.
We told Greg not to put these on when he talks because he looks fanatical. So now he usually has it on.
If there's any more questions from Denny? You have any questions, Denny? And anything? Because here's the guy to ask, so you can unmute
You
yourself.
guys can unmute and go live.
Yeah, because if you have any,
Greg, you too.
so
Yeah, I'm here.
anything, Denny, and unmute
Well,
yourselves. Okay, Denny
so-
has something. Go ahead, Denny.
Hi,
Okay, go ahead.
we're just here to learn what it is that you are really passionate about and what you love. And I would more likely trust what you're passionate about than any of the data. So I appreciate your honesty and your transparency, because that means more to me than anything.
Beautiful. Thank
Well,
you.
I mean, what means the most to me, I mean, now we're probably going to get a little off the subject, but, the thing that means most to me in life is, one is happiness and good health, because good health and happiness are, in my opinion, very correlated with each other, only because I know that when I was suffering from a lot of medical issues, I was very unhappy. I was absolutely miserable when I couldn't walk and in so much pain. It just ruined my life and I couldn't live a life. And then, the other biggest thing is I just don't like to see people suffer. And that's the reason I told Barbara earlier that I have a hard time saying no to people, because I know what suffering's like, especially when I know that I've learned that a lot of my techniques really work. I mean, I've seen them work. In fact, they shock me how good they work, actually. I'm so shocked that literally a clown like me figured this out. Why isn't there some scientist or some doctor out there to figure out the things that I've been able to figure out? I don't get it.
Clown, Greg.
Well, I mean, I'm just a guy, like the doctor said, some guy on YouTube. There's no way that he's accomplishing this, but he saw it with his own patient. And these doctors, they call me after they find it out. And that's how they contact me, by the way. It's because they see it happening to their own patients. And they're like, how is he doing this? And they contact me and they ask me, they're like, please explain this to me, because I just can't seem to wrap my head around this. How are you doing this? I have people from Yale, Penn State, Harvard. I mean, I got oncologists. I got people contacting me who are like, how are you accomplishing this? because we're doing all this work. And, and so my biggest passion is I just want to see people be happy. I really want to see people be good to each other. And I really want to see people healthy. That's the only thing that feeds my soul. Look, this is probably getting off of subject, but look, I know how to feed the body. I know that the body needs good food. I know it needs the nutrients. I know it needs the clean water. I know it needs the hydrogen. I know it needs all these things. But how do you feed your soul? At some point, you got to feed your soul, because you could give everything to your body. And if you're not feeding your soul, you're going to feel empty inside. How are you going to live your life empty inside like that? You could have a mansion, 5 Ferraris, 10 girlfriends. I mean, what do you really need to be happy? Happiness has actually been the thing that I've been looking for so long. And the biggest thing, in my opinion, to feed your soul is when you do things for others. When you do things and share that love with others, it feeds other souls too. And then they can feed others by continuing to share in that love and happiness and kindness. This is why I think Jesus said things like, when he was asked, what's your most important teaching? He didn't say, well, my most important teaching is to give 10% to the church. He didn't say that. He didn't say the most important teaching is that everybody accepts me as their Lord and Savior. He didn't even say that. I mean, he said the most important thing is to love one another as I have loved you. It's like this love for others is what feeds us inside. That's what I believe. I mean, if you really want to know that's my belief system. And this is why I don't promote 100 products. If it was all about the money, yeah, we'd promote 1, 2, 3, 400 products, multiple supplements. I mean, you do a show on every new supplement there was, what's the flavor of the week, but all you really need is something to clean some water. Hydrogen is really magical, and figure out how to eat. Get your proper nutrients, get your proper minerals. It's not the most complicated thing in the world. It really isn't. And then periodically you need different medicines. Like if you have a really crazy infection, you're going to need something, maybe even antibiotics. And I know that they're not good for you, but if you don't use them on the regular and there's an emergency and you need them, then you use them. You survive, and then you go back to getting your body in homeostasis and trying to bring balance again to your health. There's certain times when there's emergencies, and I totally get that. But yeah, my passion is I just want to see people be happy. I really do want to see that. And I hate when people hurt each other. And it does bother me when there's companies out there who they only think about the dollar amount and the profits they can make. And, you were talking about, Barbara, about the Hydrofix. I mean, the story of the guy who created this thing. And yeah, it may not look super fancy, because you can make something look fancy. Cars are pretty good, a good example, because you can make a car look fancy. But if the motor's crap and it breaks down and starts leaking, having all these issues because they didn't put enough money into the engine or enough money into the transmission or all these important components, the hydrogen machine, that's what they did. They put all the important money into the metal technology is like the most important part, guys. And the metal that this thing uses, which is crucially important to making hydrogen, it's expensive. It's not cheap. It's like fine jewelry. By the way, it is so expensive. I think it's the most expensive part of the whole machine. And it's actually patented. Yeah, go ahead.
That goes to what Frank wanted to know about the maintenance of the machine. There really is not much maintenance on the Holy Hydrogen machine, is there?
No, the maintenance, the way they created it was pretty brilliant. Because some machines you couldn't maintain on your own. You have to ship them to places. This one you can maintain on your own. It's super cheap. You just have to clean the pitcher periodically. I just made a whole video about it. You do some citric acid cleanings periodically, and there's this little cartridge, this one piece right here that you replace once a year to once every 2 years. And this thing is so important. This is a huge part of the technology, and it's like $40-something. It's so cheap. You can make hydrogen for years before you have to replace that thing. It's extremely low maintenance, and it makes the water and the gas. I mean, it's everything you'd want in a hydrogen machine. It's the reason that that's what I've chosen to use.
We'll continue, me and Barbara, as more people learn about this, more questions. Anything else, Barbara, you want to say before we?
Well, I know that Fred, I don't know if you want to talk, but there was something else that Fred put up. I answered him, but he basically said that there's some athlete that was talking about another machine, and I said, well, first of all, if an athlete's endorsing a machine, I'd be a little concerned. But what he said is, why is this machine better than a former, not an athlete, an athleton that was out since the 1980s? And I don't know, but I have a feeling that Greg has researched it. am I asking this question right, Fred? Do you want to talk? No, okay. Why, we did talk about that your research, you were dedicated to researching, and that you could have made a lot more money endorsing other machines, and this is the one that you picked.
No, may I, just one last comment. My favorite part of all of it was when you spoke about your father, your heart opened, and what came out in that moment was more precious than water. And I liked whatever your father was buying or using. I think I'd like to do the same thing. So
Well,
thank you.
I got to tell you right up front, I'm always hesitant with sharing my father's story, and I'll tell you why. Because my father didn't want to do anything. All he wanted to do was the clean water and the hydrogen. And I really think that he could have gotten greater results had he done other things. But regardless, I think it would bring a lot of people. I think it would help a lot of people. And all my father did was I bought it for him. I got him one of the mypurewater.com carbon distillers. That's the reason that I have this one, because I gave him my other one. So I gave him the first one that I got to make extremely clean water. That was the first thing. And the second part was I also bought him his hydrogen generator. And then I showed him how to use it. And that's all he did. He would use the clean water and the clean hydrogen with a proper protocol. And that's it. And it was very easy. The proper protocol is quite easy. And beyond that, he lived his life. He ate whatever he wanted to eat. He eats a lot of junk food. I got to tell you, my poor dad. But that's why the results were so shocking, because I didn't think that it would work. I thought with the way he's treating himself, I kept thinking there's just no way that he's going to get the results that I'd like to see. And he did. The most painful one he dealt with was his arthritis. My poor father had arthritis so bad. He was on a medicine called meloxicam. And meloxicam is highly damaging to the liver. In fact, they have to monitor your liver because it will destroy your liver. I knew a person who months ago died from using that medicine for too long because it destroys you. It completely kills you. But it makes you feel fantastic for a while because it helps with the inflammation. And my father felt great when he was on it. And I said, Dad, we got to get you off that medicine because my father's also a wine connoisseur. So he's a huge wine connoisseur, drinks wine every meal, with his dinner. And if you read the fine print on the data about meloxicam, you should never use that medicine with alcohol. It can literally kill you. And I said, Dad, this stuff could straight up kill you. You could just eating dinner and drop dead like this. And I'm ashamed to say this, but I'm telling you guys the truth here, mostly because I don't think my dad's watching. But my father got pissed. He was like, I don't ever want to hear you talk to me about it again. Let me live my life, meaning I'm going to continue to take this meloxicam. I'm going to continue to drink my wine. And I don't want to hear anybody say a word about it. I'm an old man now. Let me live my life. But I love my father. I love him with all my heart. I don't want to see bad things happen to him. I read the data in regards to how hydrogen how it was affecting arthritis. Okay. That's what it appeared to be doing. So I did go off the data. I create my protocols off of data, by the way. So I created a protocol thinking that in theory, it should work. And I said, Dad, just please drink the water that I'm making for you, the hydrogen with the cleanliness of the water. Let's do this and let's get you off these pills. Hopefully it works. And I remember the first couple of months were brutal because he went off his pills. He went off the meloxicam and he goes, man, my joints are hurting so bad. He said, Greg, please, I can't do this much longer. It's too painful. I can't do it. And I said, Dad, just be patient. The data shows that it took months before this stuff really worked. It was probably around the 3-month mark that he told me, he said, I'm still in pain, but it took the edge off. I can kind of deal with this right now a little bit. 6 to 8 months, his arthritis was gone. And he's never been on the meloxicam again. He's been living like that for years. No more arthritic medication. It changed his life.
Thank you.
And that's just one of many things, but go ahead.
Okay, one question. Fred asked if you can use 2 cannulas at once, which I don't
In
know.
my opinion, you don't want to do that because if you notice the cannula here, everything that the Japanese did with this device was measured. So if you really look at this cannula, what's interesting about it, if I pull really hard on it, this center piece, well, here, I'll just do it. I hate to do it, but look. See, it's
Barbara.
actually two.
That woman with Denny had a question too. I hope they didn't
Sorry.
leave.
No, they didn't leave.
No. I'm here, and my name's Yvette. Thank you for all of the information that you provided. You're extremely knowledgeable. I'm quiet because I'm learning also, but I did have a question that you mentioned metals and the hydrogen, and
Yes.
so I'm not sure exactly what metals. I know you mentioned stainless steel. But is there any concern with anybody who has like metal implants from dentistry or crowns, etc., drinking this hydrogen water? And thank you in advance for your response.
In my opinion, the metals, when I say the caution of metal, is when you're making the hydrogen. That is the fundamental issue. As far as having metal in your body, in my opinion, no. If anything, it would actually be beneficial because there are certain metals that can cause a lot of free radical damage in the body. And that's exactly what hydrogen appears to be really good for, is for free radical damage. And so I would think it's actually a good thing to use hydrogen if you have metal implants instead of it being bad for you.
And just one additional question.
Sure.
In my office, we have an IV lounge, so we do offer ozone therapy. Is that hydrogen something that could be bubbled into maybe some sterile water and administered via IV? Not sure if you know how to answer that.
Actually, you could. In Japan, they do hydrogen IVs. To be upfront with you, I just don't think it's really necessary. And the reason I don't think it's necessary is here's the funny thing about this is why we need data. I know that there was a gentleman who before he didn't care about the data. But this is what's helped me. I need to look at data in order to understand how to create my protocols. When you inhale hydrogen, I mean, it begins to saturate your blood with hydrogen. Why would you need to necessarily do an IV when you can saturate it with this gas? IVs are really good. I mean, I know you can do ozone IVs and whatnot, but IVs are actually really good at bringing in nutrients. That's why when they put an IV in, you want to have a lot of nutrients in the fluids that you're bringing in. I'm not doing this for nutrients. The nutrients come from the food and the smoothies that I make. I'm just looking for the gas. And interestingly enough, all scientists thought that the gas would be way more beneficial than the water, by the way. This is why data and science is important, because everybody and their mother said the hydrogen gas is the way. Japan was like, we found the golden goose, this is the panacea. And by the way, I'm not making any claims about it being a panacea, but they were so excited about it. But when they started doing the research, they didn't understand why the gas wasn't as powerful as the water. Because by the way, you get way less hydrogen in the water than you do from the gas. But the water seemed to be more powerful. And in nature, do you guys remember where this was actually discovered? It was discovered from the place called Lourdes, France. In Lourdes, France, they have the holy waters of Lourdes. And how this water was causing all these people's ailments to go away. Nobody understood why. People studied the water. They couldn't figure it out. And it was the Japanese who figured out that water's full of hydrogen. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah, that is so amazing.
We just have one more question from Randy, who's an eye.
Sure.
And Randy, I just want to say, when I've been washing my eyes with the hydrogen water, it really felt clearing. But what's your question?
Well, that's my question, actually. It's related to vision, because I'm an integrative optometrist. So it was interesting that you spoke about your dad and talked about both macular degeneration and glaucoma. So, you're talking about protocols. Have you started working with doctors to come up with these protocols? I know you said that there's some doctors that are interested, but to me, that would make the most sense to actually get doctors that are interested in this together and find a way to have protocols for different types of ailments.
Well, first, I'll just say I'm super excited that you're an ophthalmologist, was it?
Optometrist.
Oh, optometrist. I'm excited that you're here because the stories that I have, they blow my mind. And doctors above all understand how important data is. Yeah. And because you really want to see what works and what doesn't work. This is all very important. There's definitely different protocols that I have. As far as the glaucoma thing, it was the funniest one, really. It's one of the funniest ones because they couldn't believe their own results. My father had been going to them to them for like 30 years plus. And they were like, wait a second, this can't be right. They didn't trust their own results because they knew my father had glaucoma, which a lot of these things have to do with inflammation.
Right.
Right. And we know that hydrogen appears to function as an anti-inflammatory.
Right.
Now, for things like glaucoma or even macular degeneration or other eye conditions, we also know that the eyes, this is pretty wild, are literally a part of the brain.
Right.
You know? And a lot of people don't think about these things because the protocols I've been using are all very similar, like people with dementia, Alzheimer's, foggy brain, but it also seems to correlate with their eyes. You should see my father. He used to wear glasses all the time. I never see him use glasses anymore. This stuff is actually improving vision. Wait a second, how can it improve vision? It doesn't even make any sense. Sometimes I don't even understand it, but I get excited about the results. You know, like I have perfect 20/20 vision and I didn't used to, but now I have perfect 20/20 and I'm older, you know, so quite a bit older. I know that Barbara thinks I'm young and I appreciate that a lot actually, but I won't go into that much. And thank you for that. I mean, I really do appreciate that. You have no idea. But thank you. You're very sweet and you're very, you know, you look great and you're very beautiful, obviously. You know, and by the way, a lot of people don't know that hydrogen has an anti-aging effect. So there is studies that they've done even on anti-aging, which are pretty incredible also. And I'll get back to that in a second, because as far as the eye thing, water is just foundational to health. I mean, there's data now that shows that just proper hydration is crucial. And we know that hydrogen, or at least it appears to hydrate you better than just water, right? That's the first thing. But as far as for your eyes, this is a huge part of my protocol is the gas. Because what I do is I use the water to hydrate the body, but once you inhale the gas goes straight to your brain and straight to your eyes. The people who had the benefits for the macular degeneration and things like glaucoma, they would inhale the gas a lot. And that's the reason that I have it sitting right here, because here's where I sit down a lot of times to eat my meals. And here's where I sit down to drink my smoothie. So I put the inhalation right here because it's hard for me to find the time to inhale too, by the way. It's hard to just sit there and inhale. For my father, you know what I had to do for my father? Because again, my father's look, I love my father, but you know that whole saying about stubborn old man, you know, it's just something that happens as we age and whatever, right? But I had to put the machine by his lazy boy because he loves to watch TV. He'll sit there and watch TV for hours. So I wanted to put a machine right there with the inhalation. So I'm like, Dad, just put it on when you're watching TV, or if you're sitting there reading a book or something, you know what I mean? And just inhale when you're sitting there, just hanging out. That way you can get more hydrogen into you. I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, it's interesting because you're also talking about the fact that anti-aging, the eyes actually will represent where there's an aging problem, so those are diseases of aging. So if you can reverse macular degeneration or glaucoma or some of the other vision problems, that's a direct reflection of the anti-aging that you can accomplish. So to me, it's a great way to kind of see and measure what's changing.
Randy,
you're actually completely.
I was just saying, Randy, you get together with some other eye doctors and run some experiments and get Greg as an advisor on the team.
Yeah, that would be great. I have a few other docs that are more open to alternatives, so we can chat at another time, and Barbara can maybe arrange that.
And you just made you really made a lot of good points, and these are actually points that I've been talking about forever on my channel, which doesn't get a lot of exposure because I don't know. I'm sure there's people who pay money to figure out how to get their channels big, and I never spent a dime on my channel. But what I can tell you is, even the glaucoma thing, there was no data, by the way, when my father got the benefits that he got originally. Later on, data started coming out. But here's one of the things that I do with the hydrogen, and please, this is not medical advice, because if you're using the wrong type of hydrogen equipment, you would never want to do this. I've had people try my hydrogen protocols with different hydrogen equipment, and I've seen some not good things. Everything that I'm sharing with you is specific to the equipment that I use. Please, again, no medical advice. So first of all, can you put drops, since I think somebody was asking about this, and there is some data on this. can you use hydrogen drops for your eyes, right? So here's what I would say. The water that you're going to use has to be extremely clean, which is why I use the carbon distilled, meaning that it makes the water 99.9% pure. I'm not going to be putting tap water in my eyes. I'm not going to be putting, water that comes out of your filter from your refrigerator. There's no way I'm going to use those type of waters. You need extremely clean water. And then when you put hydrogen in it, it has to be made really cleanly also, because again, there's equipment out there that makes it, in my opinion, like it can be dangerous. You do not want to put that stuff in your eyes or your ears. There's so many ways to use this, the hydrogen. And so the clean water and making the hydrogen properly, yeah, you could put drops in your eyes. I've done it. Drops in your ears. Obviously, I drink the water. Have you guys know the little neti pots, right? You guys know about these?
Yes. Up your nose.
Did you hear about the guy who recently died from using a neti pot?
Yeah, you told us that story before.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was literally just because of the water that he was using. And if you read the directions, it specifically says to use things like they prefer for you to use distilled water because you want all viruses out of the water, all bacteria out of the water, all parasites out of the water. The device that I showed you, I could show you, the studies that were done on that water. It's super, super clean. It's the cleanest stuff. That's why I make it that way for myself. Luckily, it's not expensive. Luckily, it's not like a $20,000 machine. You can get one for under $1,000 and they last basically forever. Mine never breaks. Super reliable.
Well, we should start to wrap up. I know, Barbara, do you have a few more questions? Because I should go. Unmute, Barbara. Unmute. But is there anything?
No. We could, this is always a to be continued discussion with Greg. So, but I think one other person had a question. Terry, was that you?
Yeah, Terry. And Randy, bring some of your friends to the next meeting if they want, like some of your associates. We'll probably do this in a few weeks again, if Greg's available. He hasn't retired from,
I'm getting close.
What's your question, Terry?
Oh, Greg.
Terry.
I'm sorry?
Terry, yes, unmute.
So I'm sorry, I got a phone call. So I've been working on getting clean water with the person I've been working with for a long time. And I've been getting those cheap TDS water testers from Amazon. They're like $15. And I can't tell if the thing works or not. Are there any reasonable priced water testers, or they're all garbage? And go on that website and we can read more about, water. Because I'm simply concerned about the plastics in the water and everything else. So
okay. Let's answer your question really simple. TDS meter is not the right way to test water at all. TDS just stands for total dissolved solids. It has nothing. It's not going to show you how clean your water is. It's not going to show every contaminant, every pharmaceutical. It's not going to show you everything that could potentially be in the water. This is the reason that things are sent to a lab to get properly lab tested. Okay. If you want to make the cleanest water, if you're like, look, I don't want to mess around. I want to make the cleanest water. It's cheap. It's actually cheaper than lab tests. You just get a carbon distiller and it will make the cleanest water that you can pretty much get your hands on. It's easy. It's not that expensive. And it's because of the way you have to understand how water filters work. Anything that has a water filtration system, you have to understand this, because this is a sneaky little thing that these companies do. This is why companies hate me, because I point out their sneaky little methods. If you take a filter and you put it in a device and you're running water through it and you test the water and you're like, look, lab test shows the water's super clean. Here's the problem. Every 100 gallons to 500 gallons that you run through that filter's going to be getting dirty. So the water that's, I see these companies who sell a water filter that says, hey, our water filtration system will filter out 10,000 gallons before you have to replace the water filter. Okay, 10,000 gallons. So when they show you the test, maybe they've run 50 gallons. Well, that means that after 500 gallons, the quality is not the same. After 1,000 gallons, it's not the same. After 1,500 gallons, because this filter is getting dirty, guys. It's getting gross, and the quality of the water is not the same anymore. A carbon distiller, which is what I recommend, which is what I personally use, is using again the power of the hydrologic system. There virtually is no filter, because hydrologic system works off the way that basically nature made things, the way that the steam, when the purity rises, that's part of the reason I call my channel Uprising. It rises up and leaves impurities behind. There is no filter. The only filter is at the very end, there's a little carbon filter just to minimize a few things that get through the distillation process. But distillation will remove almost everything. I mean, I could read you, which I won't because it'll take too long. I could read you the before and after numbers after distillation. It's unbelievable. I mean, the stuff that this stuff takes out, even stuff that I didn't even know about. This is why I do research. One of the things that shocked me.
Did that come with a water unit, or you had that run yourself? That report?
So this report was done. These companies that I talk about because I like them. If I request something, they'll tend to do it because they know that I'm a guy who talks about their products. I'm like, can you guys do some third-party lab testing? And they did. And all it did was prove what I kind of already knew. I already knew the results would come out like this because it's in my brain. I know how it works. That's why my theories tend to be proven true, because I already know how it works. It's just a matter of proving what I already know.
And is that carbon machine, does it need electricity to do this carbon distilling?
Absolutely, yes. Because
it needs electricity, so it's not like a Berkey.
Berkeys will, by the way, Berkeys will not filter. They don't do the best job. Sorry to say. Berkeys are not even close, by the way. Not even close. The purity compared to this, it's not even close. It's like comparing Michael Jordan to some high school player. It's just not even close. Grade school player. One of the things that I was surprised, I was going to show you guys on these lab reports. This is just the one that surprised me. This is what I was going to show you. Radioactive contaminants. I didn't even know that we had radioactive contaminants in our water. And what it removed was so unbelievable. There's no way a Berkey will do that. There's so many things that are in our, let me tell you something right now, guys. Our water is so dangerous. In my opinion, again, this is not a medical claim.
No,
it
it's
is so dangerous what's in our water right now. You'd be an absolute fool to not clean your water if you're trying to improve your health. Sorry to say. I mean,
does this machine take out the microplastics, which I'm guessing a lot of the other filters don't?
Absolutely. This stuff takes out. It takes everything. It takes so much.
Right?
It's unbelievable. Oh yeah, I could look. I'll read you that one. Okay, you guys want to know about that one? This thing tested for everything. Pages of it, by the way. Here, I'll just read you the one on PFAS.
So they have
They have PFOS and PFOAs. When they tested the water before it ran through the carbon distiller that I'm literally using, okay, the level of PFOA was at a 26. All right. After this process, 0. It eliminated over 99.9. It removed it all. All right. PFOS was at a 7 before. After it ran through this filter, a 0. I mean, this stuff is unbelievable. I wish you guys could see this, because everything here, let me show you here. Everything became a 0. Look at all these zeros, because this thing removes everything.
Like you're talking about my water, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. This is mypurewater.com. This is the stuff.
Greg, we have to wrap up. Any final words from you about overall? I mean, it's really great.
Yeah.
So inspiring. Alan, thank you for bringing Greg to us and for, just being who you are and always. Oh, Randy has a question. One last question. No, Randy, not a
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I always feel so nourished after hearing Greg speak about how you're taking. Greg,
it's his heart and his sharing, and it's everything else. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone. Thank you, Barbara. I'll talk to you soon.
Alan, thank you. Bye, everyone. Greg, I'm going to
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Really great. Thank you so much, Greg.